I am a Mocha Mom, and I am back with a new series. Really, lady? We say some of the craziest things to each other, and I've been doing videos and noticed that there's been a pattern, and my internal dialogue has been lady this, lady that. It happens with dudes too, but for the most part it's always some lady. So I thought it would be fun to come back and share that with you. So like it down below if you want to see more of these videos. So I was at the bank the other day, and the person ahead of me was doing a business transaction. She had one of those envelopes, and they called her by name. And so she goes up to do her transaction, and she turns to back and looks at me. I was the next person in line for a teller, and she says, "Are those all your daughters?" So I had a big doofy smile on my face, because typically when I get that question, something positive comes after it, like, "Oh, they're so beautiful," or "They're so well behaved," or "Look at their hair, how did you do that style?" Matter of fact, that's how Cherish My Daughter started. So I was completely unprepared for her to ask me if I had been a terror to my mother growing up, because she had heard that you only get a lot of daughters as punishment, sort of a punishment from God for terrorizing your mother growing up. Now, I immediately moved into mama bear mode, because my three girls were standing right there. And I went on to tell her that, no, I'm really happy with my girls. I'm glad God gave me girls. I've grown so much from having girls. I love my girls. It's a blessing. Most people would have backed off, and that would have been it. And this is a complete stranger. What is going on with the lack of boundaries that we have these days? My girls were standing right there. They were really silent. They weren't saying anything. I couldn't really judge from their expressions what they were thinking. And the tellers were silent. The conversations was taking place just between me and this lady. And looking back, I think it's kind of odd that she was trying to do her transaction, but her complete attention was focused on me. So by this time, I had been called and moved up to do my transaction and submitted everything to the lady. But then this lady continues talking to me. And she says, "Well, I have two daughters, and if I was given another one, I would shoot myself." I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, Ms. Mocha Baby standing right here. And she's looking at me as if she's waiting for me to say something about my girls to confirm what she's saying about her girls. And all I wanted to tell her is, lady, you are a complete stranger. Do you really think that I am going to sit here and tear down my daughters right in front of them with a complete stranger? Really, lady? Really? I finished my stuff up, and I said, goodbye, have a nice day or whatever, snatched my girls and flew out of there. When I went back to the car, I trying to feel my daughters out, trying to do damage control, trying to ask them, man, that lady was really over the top. I feel so sorry for that lady. I'm sorry she feels that way about her daughters, just to kind of feel my daughters out. But my daughters were okay, because even though they heard the entire conversation, they were focused on what I was saying. I told her, well, I like my daughters. I realized that inside, there's a lot going on inside of her. Maybe this was a cry for help. Obviously, she's going through something terrible or very difficult with her own daughters. And I feel like if I had been alone, maybe I would have been more empathetic and positioned myself so as we're walking out the door, maybe, a conversation could have continued where I could have talked to her about whatever her situation was. But realize how inappropriate it is to have this kind of interaction with someone right with their kids standing right there. How crass is that? How cold is that? How inconsiderate and inappropriate is that?